So in previous videos, I showed you how to count half beats, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then I showed you how to count quarter beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. But what about eighth beats? What if we have a note which is 1/8 of a beat long? How do we count that? Well, it doesn't crop up very often, but it does appear a couple of times in my intermediate classical course, so it is worth doing a short video explaining it. And one of the pieces in which we get eighth beat notes is Beethoven's Adagio Cantabile. So again, the time signature is 2/4, so we have 2 quarter notes in each bar. And if we look at bar 5, we can see that in the left hand, we have these 2 Cs, which are both quarter notes. So they're 1 beat each, so the beats are going to go 1, 2. So far, that's pretty straightforward. If we look at the right hand, we start with a quarter note as well. So that E is going to be a whole beat. It's going to take up the whole of beat 1, which means that the A coming after it is going to go on beat 2. It's also straight above the left hand C, which we already know is on beat 2. So getting the beats in place is pretty straightforward in that bar. But that A is a dotted eighth note, which means that it's 3/4 of a beat long. We covered the logic behind that in my previous dotted rhythms video, so go over that if you haven't already. But to recap really quickly, if a quarter note is 1 beat, then an eighth note is half a beat, and putting a dot after it multiplies its length by 1.5. So a half times 1.5 is 3/4. It's kind of complicated. You can also think of a rhythm dot as adding half of the length of a note to itself. So if you have a note which is half a beat long, half of half a beat is a quarter of a beat, and if you add a quarter to a half, you get 3/4. Or you could just consult my dotted rhythms chart, which will tell you that a dotted eighth note is 3/4 of a beat when the bottom number of a time signature is 4. Anyway, that material we've covered already. Main thing is that that A is 3/4 of a beat long, which means that those next 2 notes, the B and the C, are together taking up just 1/4 of a beat, which is all that's left in that bar. So we have 2 notes taking up 1/4 of a beat of equal length, so they are taking up 1/8 of a beat each. And we can double check that. We can see that they have 3 tails on them, which means that they are 30-second notes. And just to recap the arithmetic there, if a quarter note is 1 beat, an eighth note is half a beat, so a 16th note is 1/4 of a beat, and a 30-second note with 3 tails is therefore going to be 1/8 of a beat. So each of those notes take up 1/8 of a beat. And how are we going to count that when we're translating what's written on the page into playing something that's rhythmically accurate? Well, are we going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for every beat? I think that's not very practical, not least because 7 is a 2-syllable word. So it's kind of hard always counting beyond 6 in music. It's an unfortunate feature of the English language. What I recommend instead is counting quarter beats as we've done before. So if we're counting quarter beats, then the first beat is just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, because we're holding those for a whole beat. So that's going to be 4 quarter beats. 2, 3, 4. Then that A is taking up 3/4 of a beat, so that's 3 quarter beats. We'll put 3 numbers underneath it in the score. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. And then that B is going to come on the 4, because the B and the C are taking up 1/4 of a beat together. They're occupying the last quarter beat of that beat. So then what I suggest, this isn't official notation, but one way you could count that C is by putting a plus sign underneath it. And in this case, the plus sign is not indicating an off beat, but an off quarter beat, a note that is happening halfway between 2 quarter beats. Because then you would end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1, which is the correct rhythm. Let's just do that again. So these 3 notes are going to go on 4 and 1. We're counting quarter beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So that's one way you could count that C, which is 1/8 of a beat. But I would say another way you could count it, which is maybe slightly easier, is simply not saying anything at all on the C, just making sure that you get the B on the 4 and the D on the 1. So in other words, getting the quarter beat notes in place, getting the quarter beats accurate, and then just making sure you hit the C halfway between those other two notes. So then you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you just have 4, 1, getting the B on the 4, the D on the 1, 4, 1, and the C halfway between those two. I think that's maybe an easier way of counting a note which is only an eighth of a beat long. Just get the quarter beats in place, and therefore the sort of eighth beats should be in place as well. Oh, terminology gets confusing. Let's do one more example of that, which is in Albinoni's Adagio. So the time signature of Albinoni's Adagio is 3/4. So we have 3 quarter beats in each bar. You can see that really clearly in the left hand. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Those left hand notes are staccato notes. They have a dot above and below them, not after them. We cover that in a later tutorial. It just means you play them short, but they're still 1 beat each. And if we look at bar 3, we kind of actually have the opposite rhythm of what we had in the Beethoven. So in the Beethoven, we had a dotted 8th note followed by 2 32nd notes. Now we have a pair of 32nd notes followed by a dotted 8th note. So that B flat is the dotted 8th note. That is taking up 3/4 of the first beat. So in terms of writing in quarter beats, as we did in the previous piece, that's going to take up 3 numbers, 2, 3, 4. And then once again, we have some 32nd notes. So they are an eighth of a beat each. And together they're adding up to a quarter note. So I would say let's just play the G on the 1. Make sure we hit the B flat on the 2. That is just a quarter of a beat after the G. And then the A should fall into place. I put a plus sign underneath it on this score, but I think once again it's easier if we don't say anything while playing the A. We just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, like that. So 1, 2. Need to get the G on the 1 and the B flat on the 2. So that produces a rhythm like this. See if I can count and play both hands at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So it's very slow. A bit faster it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we get the same rhythm in the next bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So slowing that bit down again, it's exactly the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2. A's coming on the 1, the C's coming on the 2. It's the same rhythmic pattern as bar 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2. Getting those B flats on the 1, 2, and the A, which is halfway between them, should fall into place if we get the quarter notes. Sorry, not the quarter notes, the quarter beat notes in place. Almost tripped myself up. That is how you count eighth notes. Basically, just count the quarter beats accurately, and the vast majority of the time, you could therefore get the eighth beat notes in place by simply getting the quarter beats in the right place.